Did I hear the click this time? Yes, what's up, guys? It's Barbarisi from the BX. Yes. I've lived almost more than half my life in the Bronx, almost. So, I am considered to be from the Bronx. I am a native New Yorker, and I'm proud of it. And all my family are native New Yorkers. No matter where they go, they will always be New Yorkers. Now, excuse me. Hey, better out than in, right? So, I am going on an incline. A huge incline right now. And I'm pushing the stroller up the hill just like that. Not out of breath. Now remember, there's a couple of factors here that come into play, guys. Remember, I abused my body for a long time. Number one. Number two is, I was homeless for 15 years. Okay? Straight. Yeah, I might have shacked up here and there, but for the most part, I lived in the street for all those years. Another thing, I had pneumonia. So part of my lung permanently damaged. Gabish? So, I'm just saying this because God, the Lord Jesus Christ, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, that I give all the glory to, I'll never be ashamed. I will proclaim the Lord's holy name until my last breath. I've always told people about the Lord, even when I was a kid. I remember when my Uncle Richie died from Agent Orange, from serving in Vietnam. After he passed away, I was so in tune with the Spirit of the Most High that I would preach the Word of God to my aunt, friend. And I told her, and remember guys, this time, I was being abused by her son. So imagine a little girl being sexually traumatized. And you know what, I'm not going to stop talking about it because it's my right. It happened to me and my sister. And my sister will account to all of the abuse. Okay, just in case anybody, who you are, is trying to say that it wasn't such a big deal. If it was your daughters, God forbid. First of all, if it was even your kids, I would fucking kill the person. How about that? And that is a fact. Try me. Number two is if someone did that to a child, how could you want that person around your kids and say, oh, well, they were just a kid. He knew exactly what he was doing. All right? I don't want to hear that crap. He was going through something. Yes, it was very sad. He lost his father. My Uncle Richie, who was a good man. I understand. But that is no excuse. The drugs, he was a drug addict. Come on now. You know, I'm being judged in school and shunned because I had an addiction. But meanwhile, this person who did way worse than I've ever did was on drugs too. The same drugs I did. As a matter of fact, they might not have done it the way I did it. What's up, boys? Boys in blue. They might not have done it the same way I did it in some instances, but it doesn't matter. Remember, drug is a drug, is a drug. Okay, so you cannot sit there and say, well, one is okay and the other one isn't. No, that's not the way it works. You're going to judge someone upon their addiction and their actions. It doesn't matter if they shoot, snort, or smoke. A drug is a drug is a drug. And that is it. Now, why, hold on guys. Excuse me. Why am I bringing all this up? Because I am hurt and I am tired of being judged upon my past when my past was circumstantial 100% and a domino effect. I was screwed by my own family, okay, in a lot of ways. And you know exactly what I'm talking about, okay? Now here it is. My father was the only one who came to bat, okay? What happened with Paul? The only one. Now this was done. You can ask Dee Dee about this if you think that I'm lying, because you know she's not a liar, and neither am I. I lied when I was a kid. All kids lie, but I am fundamentally not a liar. I will tell you to your face all the things that I've done in my life and cast the first stone. How about that? Now, Paul, when he started molesting us, he was 14 years old. Yes, he was a young kid, you know, and something must have happened to him. And I feel bad about that. But when he started to come to age of his later teens, there's no excuse for what he did to me and my sister. Sat us on his lap, and you can confirm this with my sister, on his lap in front of the whole entire family while you guys were watching football and touching us and making us touch him, okay? And this is all 100% true. What child is going to make something like that up? Now, the old man was the only one who actually came to our rescue. Not my mother, you know, not my brothers. Love my brother Anthony, but you know, he was doing his own thing, and I don't even think he was around, but he wasn't around. Okay? Now, the situation at hand is this. Being judged because after it didn't take me being abused as a child. It didn't take being abused by my stepmother mentally and physically. You know, out of all the abuse, that was the lesser of the evils, but she still hurt me in a lot of ways, okay? She would mentally badger me constantly and put me down and call me a liar and squeeze my face and punish me every summer for everything that I did not do, okay? What she did emotionally scarred me, and it was wrong. But I forgive her too. It didn't take none of that for me to turn to drugs, that I'm being judged upon in such a way that how dare anybody judge me. I'm a good person. I would do it. The very one that you shun is the one who will pull you out of the rubble. Okay? Remember that. So you breaking my heart and making me feel, hi Lydia, give me a minute, my love, it's my cat. You breaking my heart and making me feel like I'm a piece of shit and I'm not worth the time of day and I'm not even worth giving a hello or how you doing because I said something 7 years ago when the old man died. Give me a break. You talked to friggin' Paul, okay? You had him around your kids, and it's sorry, it's none of my business, but those are still you're still my blood, and your daughters are still my blood, and I think it's absolutely disgusting that you had him around your kids. I'm sorry, that's my opinion. I would never, if someone did something to my sisters, if I was you, I would never have that person around my children. Never. I don't care how much they pocket, you can't trust them. And if you look in their Facebook page, you will see that his children are in the same position, the same exact position, okay, is how me and Dee Dee were on his lap. Like I said, none of that turned me to drugs. What turned me to drugs, and not even the thing with Mike, that everyone except the old man just swept under the rug. And I love Mom with all my heart. I love my mother with all my heart. But you know what? That's the only thing I have to say, that she needs her head examined. Let's say Mike didn't rape me, which he did, because the whole thing is that when I first moved in with them, yes, I had a lot of emotional problems from being sexually abused. But Mom was pushing me on Mike, and I'm not saying she was doing it in that way. I know in my heart she wasn't, but she did. She did push me on him. She wanted me to sit on his lap and rub his feet and say, oh, isn't he cute? And all these little anecdotes, and it makes me sick to my stomach that she had no idea what she was doing. Now, I was a promiscuous young lady. When children are abused and going through things, some are like Dee Dee, where she became an introvert, and me, I'm more of an outgoing personality where I will tell you to your face how I feel without even, I don't hurt people's feelings, but I'm more outgoing. You know what I'm saying? Just like when Paul was touching me and Diane, I called him an effing pig one day when he was standing on top of the railing looking down at me like I was a prey and he was the predator. And I said, you effing pig. Yes, I did. And I got cracked across my face for it. And I was only 5 or 6 years old. Now, it didn't take none of those things. Yeah, I might have smoked weed. I'm not going to lie. And you know what? Mike got me hooked on weed, for your information. Good old Mike, that my mother lays in bed with every night. He's the one who bought me weed. I never knew what drugs was, and you know it's true. You know I never did drugs when I was a little kid. I didn't even know what that crap was. I smoked cigarettes, yes. But drugs? No. Mike bought me my first joint. He used to buy me weed all the time, so I'd be submissive and got me hooked on that crap. And I remember crying all the time saying, I don't want to smoke this shit. And it was very depressive. This man moved out of the apartment in Laban V. Told me he was madly in love with me. And honestly, I thought I loved him too. I'm not a liar. Yes, I thought I was in love with this man. And did I know what I was doing? Yes and no. The reason I say yes is because just like Paul, he was 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old when he did what he did. And as you come to age, you become a cannibal, okay? But it's different putting your hands on a little girl, 2 little innocent girls, okay? When their whole family is torn apart through dysfunction and everybody is, torn apart from what my father did and all this shit, and the deaths of my grandmother and Uncle Richie and all that really tore the family apart. Okay, it was very chaotic at that time in the 80s. Now, that didn't give him an excuse, but he's held accountable for what he did. Yes, I'm held accountable in some instances that I was promiscuous, but that shouldn't have gave him the right. Now, here it was, I was promiscuous, but I was also being pushed upon him, and that's the truth. To tell him, oh, isn't he cute, and touch his lips and all these things, and like I said. And he used to call me his little wife right in front of Mom, right in front of her, and she never said, hey, that's inappropriate. If my daughter was in my life and Tito ever said to him, oh, that's my little wife, I would have punched him right. Forget about it. I don't even have words of what I would have done, okay? That's not normal. You don't call your stepdaughter your little wife. Right there, that's a friggin' red flag right there. You know? And like I said, it was like this. You know now that when I was little, I was neglected in a lot of ways. I wasn't, me and Diane were not taken care of properly. We were barely, bought shoes, and we were barely bought like good, decent clothes. I remember going to school with sandals and socks in the winter, and the teacher had to call us when they called CPS on Dad, and Dad was like, back then it was you could say, get the F out of my house, it's a crock of shit. You know how we used to talk. And we weren't fed properly. There was always hair in the food, and the way that woman cooked was disgusting, and we couldn't even get treats from the truck. We were neglected, so I'm not saying we were starved, but you know what I'm talking about. We weren't fed properly, and you know it's true because you didn't even want to eat the food. Now, when I moved in with Mom, it was like a breath of fresh air in a lot of ways. I had no freedom as a kid, you know that. When I lived with Dad, I was held captive every summer. I wasn't even allowed to. When do you remember me ever riding my bike? Never, because I was never allowed to. I wasn't allowed to really have friends, and the friends I did have thought I was weird because I had lack of social skills with other children because I went to so many different schools, okay, which was totally unfair. Alright? No wonder why I didn't freaking graduate back in those days, because look what was happening to me. And it's like I'm tired of being looked at as a piece of shit when I'm not. I'm a human being. I'm a decent person. I would do anything for anyone. And I'm not tooting my own horn, but God has made me that way. I'm not that way because of my own accord. It's not about that. It's about the person that God and the kindness that God has bestowed upon my heart. He preserved me through all this stuff. And how dare anybody tell that, it's exaggerated or, fabricating all this shit. Excuse me? You got a lot of nerve, man, saying that about me. A lot of nerve. Because everything I say is the truth that I went through, and painful and suffering, and all I cared about was thinking about my kids when I'm out there on the street shooting heroin because I didn't want to feel nothing, because I didn't even know nothing that was going on with my own children that were robbed from me for no reason. Now, like I said, none of that drove me to drugs. None of the stuff when I was a kid, a young girl, a teenager, drove me to drugs. I was losing my children. You think it was fair what happened to me? What that woman did to me, Nancy, Crystal, and George? I got railroaded by the whole fucking system. Excuse my language, because I'm not a trash mouth. Only when I'm really mad, I curse. Other than that, you won't hear me curse because that shows lack of intelligence. I'm sorry to anyone who does curse. I'm not saying you're stupid, but it is a telltale sign that a person doesn't know how to speak correctly when they curse too much. It's very distasteful and disgusting, and that's my opinion. And you will catch me sometimes apologizing when I do curse because I find it to be, it's not nice. Now, getting back to what I was saying. Getting back to what I was saying, it was totally inappropriate. All of these things that happened to me. Now, when I lost my kids, they wound up in my brother Jimmy's house for, I believe, 2 days. And I know I said this yesterday, but I'm continuing. Okay? 2 days. Supposedly this was supposed to help me. My ass. The woman had my kids for 2 days and said she was going to drop them off at the precinct. You think? Now, I'm sorry. I'm going to tell it like it is. Now, how did she do all of these things right under my brother's nose without him even knowing? I'm not saying he had anything to do with it, but that's your wife. Imagine if the shoe was on the other foot. Imagine if it was my husband that did that to him. You know what I'm saying? Imagine that. Imagine my husband getting involved, know you were getting, went through all these things as a kid, and now you got this loser guy as a father of your kids, because it's always one abusive thing to the next. That's the cycle, okay? And like I said, when I got with George, it was a breath of fresh air at first, because it was like someone my age, a guy my age that I was with. It was so disgusting what I was going through before, that I just jumped into a relationship too fast, and it just, to me, at that moment before he started to become abusive, we got along, and it wasn't like that until after he started drinking and becoming very abusive. And he couldn't keep a job, and he was a loser in a lot of ways. And I don't like talking about that, even about him, because that's not my style. I don't like calling people losers and stuff. And when you have children, you can't hold a job, that's not good. That's a very bad sign. Now, kids were in Nancy's house, my brother Jimmy's house, for 2 days, and she said, "Oh, get these effing kids out of here." She called my father, said, "Get these effing kids out of here, or I'm going to drop them off at the precinct." Okay, how could you do that? How could you do that to your husband's niece and nephew? I never did anything to her. Why would she do that to me? What have I ever done to her or my brother that I would get treated like this? You know what my father said? My father said that she was jealous of me. Okay, that's what it was. Okay, that's what my father said. And I think that's very dysfunctional. That whole situation was very dysfunctional. Let me go inside, because very dysfunctional situation. And to this day, I can't understand how somebody can do that to their own family. I can't fathom it. It's heartbreaking, and it doesn't make any sense to me that people can take their own flesh and blood or the flesh and blood of their children, and just want to dump them off like a piece of shit. And then, okay, you didn't want my kids. Okay, fine. Hey, what's up? I'm going to